Let's maul in the Central Committee. Let's cringe in the Central Committee. Let's bog in the Central Committee right now.
Roger Stones insists Madison is telling the truth about orgies. Roger Stone, and this is hilarious because yesterday I went out of my way and I pointed out the story and I said, no, this is of course true. And I brought up Roger Stone. I brought up how Roger Stone was famously known for telling people or participating in swingers. We talked about the very well-known orgy club in DC called Capital Couples. And like people saying that Madison Cawthorn was lying about cocaine and orgies, that was fucking weird. Of course he was telling the truth. So Roger Stone has stepped forward and defended Madison Cawthorn. So let's jump into it. Let's jump in it.
House Minority Leader.
By the way, before we begin, let me thank everybody. Captain Johnson, thanks for the 4 months with Prime. Bo Parade, the 15 months. N Mumbo, the 4 months. Mallory Malevolence, the 10 months with Prime. E Goldstein 84, the 19 months with Tier 1. Drew 2037, the Tier 1 for 7 months. And Systigs, thank you for the Prime for 12 months. And Polynomic, thank you for the Tier 1 for 2 months. Also, Bo Parade, thank you for the 10 gifted subs yesterday. I don't know that I thanked you, but I appreciate it, bud.
Leader Kevin McCarthy had a talking to with Madison Cawthorn after Cawthorn, of course, put out some strange allegation regarding...
Why is it strange? What? I do not understand TYT. Are they trying to hide the orgies from their audience? Are they trying to hide the orgies from their audience? I'm starting to think that maybe they do TYT orgies.
Over a year of morning jams and Mike.
It just doesn't make any sense. Like, why are they downplaying it? Like, there's a certain amount of people who, I guess, if they're not doing orgies, don't believe they happen. It's just like, no, they're strange accusations. Totally false. Quaz, thank you for the 14 months. And Baked Mistakes, thanks for the 6 months. I just don't get why they're calling them strange. What's strange about them?
Members of the Republican caucus inviting him to orgies that also happen to have cocaine involved. So, of course, you're going to have some Republican lawmakers who are concerned about that because they're like, what the hell kind of accusation is that? You know, many suspected that he was making it up. And now...
What? Who? Jank? Who thinks he's making it up?
It turns out that that could be true. Now, first, I want to just share this awesome photo with you because this is Madison Cawthorn leaving his meeting with Kevin McCarthy. And his face is just super red. It looks like he got yelled at. Looks like he was like reprimanded. And I'm honestly here for it. Olivia Beavers, who's been covering this story from the beginning, says Representative Madison Cawthorn just left McCarthy's office. He met with the GOP leader and Minority Whip Steve Scalise for roughly 30 minutes.
You know what they said? OX or 0x808080. Thanks for the 10 gifted subs. Hell yeah. You know what they told him? Shut the fuck up about people's behavior. What happens in DC stays in DC. People want to do key bumps and they want to do orgies. It's none of your goddamn business, Madison. Keep your fucking mouth shut. That's what they told him. They didn't tell him, well, tell us who is using drugs, please. Or did you make this up? There is absolutely no way that's how that went. And they probably made threats like, listen here, if you don't keep your fucking mouth shut, we're going to get your ass out of that seat so fast your little head is going to spin. The only crime the Republican Party is lifting the veil. Exactly.
Cawthorne didn't respond to my questions about the meeting as he was leaving. Well, Kevin McCarthy later released a statement about it and basically said that it looks like Cawthorne was making things up. This is unacceptable. There is no evidence to this. Cawthorne.
By the way, chat, when they say there is no evidence to this, what do you want him to do? What, have a picture of someone doing cocaine? Does he have to bring out the text message? His testimony is evidence. Him saying it is evidence. Now, you can say he's not credible, but it's still evidence. Are they really going to vote on marijuana legalization? I thought the House voted it, but the Senate didn't take it up. Shit's confusing. Well, I'll take a look at that.
Changes what he tells and did not tell the truth. His actions are not becoming of a congressman. Okay, let's pause for a second, Farron, because there have been many actions by Madison Cawthorn that I would venture to say are not becoming of a member of Congress. But it's just amazing how
I'd much rather there be physical evidence than for cocaine use than a Republican lemon part. You know what I've been eating this whole morning? Even though, you know, this is obviously not food. I've been eating lemon heads. Now they taste like ashes in my mouth. Or ass. God damn you. God damn you. I can't even look at the name now without thinking of a Republican lemon party. You sick fuck. You sick fuck.
Orgygate, an accusation that members of the Republican caucus are engaging in cocaine-fueled orgies, is the one
yeah, we're gonna talk about that story.
where Kevin McCarthy decided to draw the line.
Yeah, as soon as he starts talking about Republicans, then it's like, oh my God, somebody go talk to this kid. You know, with his red face like that, I don't know. Part of me kind of thinks he may have been crying a little bit, which is okay. It happens. But I love this story so much. And to be honest, I want to believe.
No, he's telling. Why do you think he's not telling the truth? I don't get it. Why do people think he's faking? Why do they think he's lying? I don't understand why they think he's lying. Could someone explain why they think he's lying? Legitimately, someone make an argument for why he would lie. Attention? Bro, he gets attention all the time. Yeah, everybody's a habitual liar. And yes, he's a lying sack of shit. So is every Republican. I think he was telling something that he saw happen because he was trying to be cool. You know, it's like, to be a cool Republican, you have to be highly desired by women, but turn them down because of Jesus. Okay? Like, if you never get laid because no woman wants you, like Ben Shapiro, that's not cool. Okay? But you still have to be highly attracted to women and like saying, no, turning them down to show your virtue. If there's no turning down, there's no virtue. Elected Republicans going to Nazi rallies gets no response from McCarthy, but saying cocaine and orgies give him a stern talking to. Because the orgies are real.
Madison Cawthorn, I want to believe that this is what is in fact happening with these Republican lawmakers. And I got to tell you, before the talking to, but after the meeting that they had on Tuesday morning, you had all these Republicans coming out, including, Dan Crenshaw was one of them, saying, Madison, why don't you name names? Tell us who these people are. Like, they were a little overly eager to find out who's throwing these massive parties that clearly these guys are not getting invited to. So yeah, I really would like to be like,
what?
Madison,
they're totally true.
Who's doing this, man? Just between me and you, I'm not gonna tell anybody. But if next time, just hit me up, man. No,
there is a 0% chance there's not cocaine orgies in DC. I don't know what to say, man. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills that people are denying this. It's like, of course there are. Like, what's happening?
for real. He embarrassed the Republican Party, so that's why he gets this talking to. It didn't matter, you know, the allegations that have come out against him from some of the women who went to college with him. Didn't matter that he lied about the accident that paralyzed him. Didn't matter that he lied about getting into the Naval Academy, which also didn't happen. As soon as he did something that could endanger the Republican Party's reputation, that's when it got out of hand. And that's why, of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't get a talking to like this. Paul Gosar doesn't. Lauren Boebert doesn't, because they're not going after.
Ron Radicate said there are cocaine orgies in Iowa. Why wouldn't they have them in D.C.? Politicians are still people, and people like to get freaky. I know. Like, what is happening?
The party as a whole. But I do still, again, Madison Cawthorn's being really weird with this, because he also did tweet out a day or two ago, what was it? Signals, not noise. Just that weird cryptic line. So there's something weird here. The kid is a liar, absolutely. But there could be a little nugget of truth in there somewhere. And I'm holding out hope that there is one.
Well, you know, it's interesting because your interpretation or a perspective on people like Dan Crenshaw demanding he name names is it like, it's just different from the way I perceived it. I perceived it as, seems like everyone kind of hates Matt Gaetz, and it seems like they suspect it's Matt Gaetz, and they're like trying to get Cawthorne to, because Cawthorne specifically mentioned that it was lawmakers that he admired. And so Matt Gaetz is more in line with Cawthorne. You know, he's like the MAGA flavor. I know that the Republican Party overall is MAGA flavor, but there are the old school traditional Republicans who just kind of had to, you know, swallow the fact that their constituents like Trump. And then there are the true MAGA.
What? Those are the hypocrites. They did it all. What? I don't know what's happening. Republicans are the biggest hypocrites on the fucking planet. Of course they're doing this shit. Of course they're putting you and I in prison for using recreational drugs while they use them themselves. What? Like what?
Admirers, and I think Matt Gaetz falls under that category. I think Madison Cawthorn, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, they're all under that category. And Matt Gaetz certainly has some pretty credible allegations against him, including from other Republican lawmakers who claimed that he would do all sorts of incredibly uncomfortable things, like show, you know, explicit images of women that he allegedly slept with, whatever it is. So I thought maybe that's what they were trying to do. Like, I think they want to get rid of Matt Gaetz, and this was a way to do it. But Kevin McCarthy also said this after the meeting: there's a lot of different things that can happen, but I just told him he's lost my trust. He's going to have to earn it back. I mean, he's got a lot of members very upset. And by the way, Republicans would want nothing more than for this story to just go away, including Madison Cawthorn. I want to go to this tweet by the Federalist that Madison decided to retweet. And the line here is, outrage over Madison Cawthorn is a distraction, and Republicans are taking the bait. In other words, this doesn't look good. Please stop talking about it. Please stop, especially as they're trying to moralize about everything, whether it be reproductive rights, transgender rights. I mean, we just see that all over the place.
I feel like if the women who were involved were sex workers, they'd talk. Very good point. Very good point. Good point. Yeah, you know what, Chad? I take it back. There's never been a gigantic scandal of Republican politicians having sex with prostitutes and it being very widespread. That's not, that never happened. That never happened.
We have been covering this story out of Alabama recently, where the family values, sanctity of marriage, far-right Republican governor in that state. He may ultimately end up getting turfed out of office after extensive and increasingly lurid details have been made public about him having an affair of some kind with one of his senior staffers. Governor Robert Bentley in Alabama has simultaneously apologized for his behavior in that relationship. He's also denied that anything physical ever happened in that relationship. But now, because of that very specific denial from him that nothing physical ever happened, because of that, the very specific language and the anatomical descriptions of behavior that can be found in Governor Robert Bentley's phone sex tapes, those details have now become really specifically newsworthy, both in Alabama and for the rest of us in the country in terms of reporting out and trying to figure out whether that red state governor is going to resign or get impeached or maybe somehow stay in office despite all of this. And so in reporting on that Alabama story, we have been playing Alabama Governor Robert Bentley's phone sex tapes here on the show, here on the...
Sex workers value discretion as part of their jobs. It could hurt their careers. Surely one would leak eventually, but it wouldn't be that simple. Exactly.
News.
Also, they oftentimes have connections to organized crime and shit. It's not just like, oh, I can just leak about my sex work experiences with this famous person or politician because the pimps would break their necks. Like, this is the type of shit people don't want to deal with sex work. Or, I'm not saying that all sex workers are in that circumstance, and I support sex work as real labor, but there's a lot of people in positions where they are not able to speak freely about their experiences
over and over again, which admittedly is weird, even though I firmly believe it is newsworthy and important. That said, since we have been covering this Bob Bentley story in Alabama, we have heard from a few different viewers who have explained rather patiently that sometimes they like to eat dinner while watching this show. And our coverage of this Alabama story is making themselves against those charges, but what they eventually said, we do have what I think is kind of an important update on that Alabama story. But because of these concerns that have been voiced to us tonight, we were going to put off that Alabama story until the very end of this hour, specifically so y'all can have some time to digest before we get to it. You're welcome. We do, though, also need to start tonight with an unappetizing story of a different kind. And the story we start with tonight concerns the D.C. Madam. Pamela Martin and Associates operated as an escort service in Washington, D.C. from the early to mid-1990s until 2007, when it all came to a screeching halt because the woman who ran that escort service was brought up on criminal charges in D.C. Now, I don't know whether she and her attorney felt at the time that they had a lot of different options for how they'd defend themselves against those charges, but what they eventually settled on as their defense strategy in the D.C. Madam case was that they would basically threaten to out all of their D.C. customers. They'd threaten to expose customers of this longstanding high-end escort agency in Washington, D.C.
10,000 people, chat. 10,000 people were on the D.C. Madam's list. No, they don't do any orgies or coke in D.C. No. That's not a thing.
The choice for governor couldn't be more clear. John Bell Edwards, who answered our country's call and served as a ranger in the 82nd Airborne Division. Or David Vitter, who answered a prostitute's call minutes after he skipped a vote honoring 28 soldiers who gave their lives in defense of our freedom. David Vitter chose prostitutes over patriots. Now, the choice is yours. The choice for governor...
Anyway, let's keep going.
Really gone in with this full-blown assault on the rights of various groups of people who have been disenfranchised and discriminated against in this country.
To bring it back, I mean, you're absolutely right about that, but also to bring it back to Matt Gaetz, when you have guys like that in Congress who do have all of these, allegations against them, that lends more credence to what Madison Cawthorn says as well. You know, that suddenly is not out of the realm of possibilities. Now, we don't know if it's Matt Gaetz, obviously, but that is a good reason to name names. I always like to think that it's because these guys are bummed that they're not getting invited to it. But
video you saw here first,
if there is something happening
that's
sake.
and chilling. Our crew was there yesterday as
Fuck's
DC
sake.
police collected 5
could potentially be illegal.
I hate these local news websites because they decide, like, if you just have the video paused for like a half hour, they decide, fuck you, we're playing it.
And yeah, that is something people need to know. If it's just a bunch of people, consenting adults, doing fun time in their time off, look, there's nothing wrong with that. The only thing wrong with it, of course, as you just pointed out, is the hypocrisy of you trying to police as a party.
What? There's, okay. And I've said this before. I personally believe that if you are an anti-choice politician or a family values type politician, you should be outed immediately. And I this is what Harvey Milk, who is a famous gay campaigner, believed. I agree. If you are gay, but you are hiding it and closeted and voting to oppress LGBT people, you should be fucking outed. I don't think you should have privacy and protection of the gay community and everybody else who knows your secrets if you are out there trying to harm your own people. That's my personal opinion.
What other people can do with, you know, their genitalia, but you're going up there having happy fun time every time Congress adjourns, that's not okay. And that's the hypocrisy that, to be honest, they're kind of immune to. You know, they don't have any shame. They even if they got busted, it still doesn't change what they want to do. But maybe it'll open up a few people's eyes. And that's what I always say is about the best we can hope for with stories like this, that maybe a couple people wake up and realize they're being lied to by these Republicans. And, you know, over time, it adds up to more and more.
Prostitutes will protect you.
But you're not going to change a ton of minds. But if you can get to a couple, then hey, that's a victory at this point.
Well, you should know that there were more Republican lawmakers who decided to do some finger wagging, including Senator Richard Burr from North Carolina, who called Cawthorne an embarrassment at times, while Senator Tom Tillis said the lawmaker has a lack of judgment and had not done much for his House district, which is honestly an understatement. But the one person who seems to believe Cawthorne is Roger Stone, who's gotten caught up in his own sex scandals in the past. He says Congressman Madison Cawthorn just told me has not retracted his claims about drug-fueled orgies among DC elites. Why would anyone believe a statement by Kevin McCarthy or anything reported on CNN? McCarthy is a corrupt rhino, Republican in name only, and CNN lies about everything.
Congressman Madison Cawthorn just told me he has not retracted his claims about drug-fueled orgies among DC elites. See? Roger Stone, I fucking told you. I fucking told you. I continue to be right on this story. I continue to be the only journalist that's really giving it the appropriate level of analysis and historical context. I mean, come on, man.
And if anyone knows about sex scandals in DC, it would be someone like Roger Stone, to be fair.
You know, they're going so hard on this story, and honestly, like,
so hard.
I almost want to take the Federalist position. Like, they should have said nothing, right? This would have been a funny little news cycle that popped and disappeared by now. But the fact that the Republicans wanted to weigh in on this, and of course now you got Roger Stone almost weighing in to defend what Cawthorn says and maybe throw more Republicans under the bus. They're keeping this alive. And I'm here for it all day.
Vegan. Come on.
Like,
me too.
This is wonderful. This is such a fun story to talk about anyway. But I want the names too. And I think if the Republicans keep kind of pushing this, if they keep this alive and it's true, then Cawthorn may get to the point where he just says, all right, fine, enough is enough. Here's these people. Here's the people who wanted to do it. Again, that can only happen if it's actually true. But I want them to keep pushing. I want people like Roger Stone to be in Madison Cawthorn's ear, telling him, don't give up on this. Let's keep pushing it. Let's out these rhinos, because this could get a hell of a lot more fun if these people continue to make this a real issue. And like I said, I'm here for it all day.
Oh, are you kidding me? This is the most interesting thing that's happened in the Republican caucus for decades. I mean, I'm here for it as well.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also...
Okay, chat, listen. Listen, Roger Stone, it's true, okay? It's fucking true.